session is all about stuff. You know, do you struggle with stuff? Is your inbox full on your computer? Have you got files everywhere? Can you not find things? Do you have loads of junk in your inboxes or at home or in places that you're storing? And is this stuff preventing you from moving forward? Is it a barrier to your success? If it is, then this session's for you. So in the last two sessions, we looked at clearing the decks and getting the environment right. And now we're going to look at some physical things. So what I'd love you to do is make sure you put your comments below and maybe give me some feedback on how it's going. Share some tips with other people, because other people will be watching this at different times. If you're watching on replay, please put it in there as well. And show some videos, some pictures of you sharing your success. So let's today talk about where this stuff comes from and where it accumulates. Now, we get emails, we get folders, we get papers, we get flyers at us, we get receipts in shops, we get given things that we don't necessarily need or sometimes don't even want. So what do? You know, what is there really a problem out there? Well, I think there is. I think, do you know that we get over 2.8 million emails are sent every second, and that doesn't include email bots, that doesn't mean scammers or replies or shares, that means someone actually typing an email and sending it out. 2.8 million. In the USA, for example, only 14% of people say, people say 40% of their emails are important. Okay, 60% of them say they get spam, and that was figures in 2019. So 60% of the American mailboxes are spam. If you add up all the people in the world, the whole population in the world, it's estimated that each and every individual has 2.8 different email accounts, not including Facebook or social media. Also, it's estimated that 12 billion pieces of junk mail are distributed throughout the USA every year. Not sure what it is in the UK, but that equates to about 6.1 million trees. And then lastly, here's a fact from the UK. The average UK adult receives 65 pieces of junk mail through their door each year. So how do you deal with all this stuff? So as with each of my webinars on a Sunday, I'm going to talk about 5 simple strategies that I personally use and tested to get rid of the stuff and protect me from bringing on the stuff. So these include buckets, deciding, files and folders, your magic cloak, and I'm going to leave you with the one-touch challenge. So number 1, here is strategy number 1. Time to grab your bucket. So what you need is an inbox or a receptacle, and I call it a bucket, to put your stuff in when it comes to you, at the source of when it comes to you. And that bucket needs to be emptied on a daily basis. I've got one bucket that I do on a weekly basis, but the rest are done on a daily basis. So I've got 4 at home. Okay, I've got a box by the door. I've got a bowl on the sideboard. I've got a box near the stairs and a box in my office. Okay, and then the last bucket I have is the most important bucket, which is called the bin, or the recyclable bin. So this is what you're going to do. Oh, and in work I also have this process as well. I have an in tray, a to file bucket, I have a current working on bucket, and a bin. So that's that in work, an in tray, a file, and a working on bucket and a bin. So I have 4. And the most important thing about this is to form a habit. When stuff comes in, you put it in. So for example, when a flyer comes through the door, okay, where does that go? Well, for me, it goes in the bin or the recyclable, but I may want to use it so it'll go to the office, into the office bucket. I might get given something, or I might have to, I bring something in from the shops that needs to go upstairs, then I put it in the stairs bucket. I always put my keys, my change, my lanyard for work, and anything that I need to grab, including always a pair of glasses, into my bowl on the sideboard. And then the bucket above in the kitchen is basically for things with our address and mail on, which needs shredding. Okay, if it doesn't have our mail on, if it doesn't have our names, address or ID on, it goes into the recyclable bin. So they're the buckets I've got, and every Every place that you either work or live has one. I also have a briefcase, and I use that as a bucket as well if I'm bringing things in and out of work. So the habit is basically to get things that you're given into a bucket. All right, that's tip number one. Everything needs a home, and you need a system for clearing it. And I do that on a daily basis. Now, process number two for me is the clincher. This is the one that basically I use every day. And I go into a lot more detail with regard to this on another training that I do. But it's what I simply call the 5Ds. And you might have heard of a system like this before, but I have a bit of a twist on mine, and mine involves monkeys. But we're not going to talk about monkeys today. We'll talk about monkeys at another time. But my 5Ds are quite simply decide, ditch, do it, defer it, and then delegate it. And we're going to deal with three of those today. Decide, ditch, do, delegate. Sorry, decide, ditch, do, defer it, delegate it. Okay? So my first one is when you get given stuff or stuff comes to you, and I'm talking about emails as well. This can all be appropriate to emails. It can be gifts and various things which we'll talk about later. But you decide. You need to decide. That's your thumb. Decide what you're going to do. The first thing, which is different than other techniques I've heard, is are you going to ditch it? Do you need it? Is it important to you? Is it important now? Will it be important in the next week? Will it be important in the next month? Will it in the next year? If it's not going to be important, you don't need it, put it away. So you know that junk email that you get and you think, oh, I'll just save that. That offer for t-shirts or that new food stuff or that new gadget. If you don't need it, just ditch it, put it in the bin, get rid. That's the best strategy ever. The next strategy that is to say no, which we'll talk about in a minute, but you ditch it. My next rule about if you don't ditch it, then you've got to do it. Now, I always set a rule. I say 5 minutes to do it. If it can get done, do it in 5, okay? So if I get an email that says I need to pay a bill, if I can do it there and then, get it done, boom, 5 minutes, done, dusted, out the way. Dusted isn't another one of the things, by the way. It could be. But yeah, you get it done 5 minutes and you concentrate on getting that thing done in 5 minutes. So an example of that is, as I said, an email comes in, pay a bill, done. Or if I need to respond to something quickly, I get stuff in work which comes to me. Can I have a response, Steve? Do you need to send an email? No. If you get it on paper, just write on the paper and give it back. If it's not going to be used for any other reason, then use that, okay? Then the defer bit is about putting it in another time. That's where it usually goes into a bucket. So when you defer, it goes into a bucket. So we've decided, we've ditched, we've done it, or it goes into a bucket and defers. And then it goes into that system of saying, once a day, you go through your buckets and either put them in the place or where the next process is. So for example, if it isn't a bill that you could pay there and then, you pop it into a folder or a file where it is. I have, as I said, in work, I have a bucket for when things come in, and I have a currently working on. And the reason why I have the current working on is because basically I know where things are, and that's where unfinished tasks go. I might have to write a report, or I might have to read something, or I might have to do something later. I know where it is. It's in that file. And that file can be quite big, I have to say. But I know where it is. All right? So you've now done your Ds. You've decided, you've ditched, you've done it, and you've deferred. Okay? Have you got that? That's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is basically everything needs to be searchable. Google's motto is making the word searchable. A world searchable, and your motto needs to be that as well. Okay, so what do I do basically with in my time management system? So I look at appointments. So in my diary, and whether it's physical, written down, or on the internet, or on a computer and Outlook, I always make sure in each appointment I've got the who, that's the person, the what, and the when recorded. The who, what, and when. So that might be something like 12:15, which is in the diary spot. I sometimes just write 12:15 as well. Meeting with Michael Heppel to discuss book. Okay, so I've got the who, the what, and the when. Okay. I also sometimes put in the notes the purpose, that's the why, and the agenda, or the call to action that I need people to do for me, okay? So the call for action for people to, what do I want them to do in the notes? That is a great way to make your diary more meaningful and have purpose, okay? So again, who, what, and when in the main sort of title, so that you can write that down as well. It doesn't have to be on electronic. And then the purpose and the why is always useful. Files. Here's my big tip on files. Everything has to have a name, not the name given by the computer, or a name, you know, it's not meaningful. So sometimes you get file 1237B or Word document 6. You need to put the name of it. It needs to be short enough for you to read it on your screen. And this is the biggest tip for this that I learned, about 10 years ago, and I've been doing it all the time. Put the date in the title and use the same format of date. So for example, not the 20th of Nov, okay? I write 20/11/2020. That's the same date format I use for everything. Sometimes that's for files, okay? For folders, I do the same. I give it a searchable name and then I put the date of that folder. So it might be emails to store 2020, okay? And then when you go into the folder, it'll say email email Michael Heppell, book 2011-20. And that's how I search it. And then when you go into your folders, you can just write Michael Heppell, you could write email, you could write things to read, you could, whatever you're searching in your browser, you can do that, okay? Same if you're making a physical one, everything has a file, and then again, everything must have a folder, even if there's only one thing. So yesterday I went through my computer and I put everything into folders. I went into a download folder, I decided what I needed, so I decided, okay, then I renamed it, I put it in a folder so I could find it. And some of those folders I've only got one file in. And why is that important? It's because you might have another file that goes in there at another time. And what's that, folks, called? What are those folders called? Come on, we talked about this in number 1. That's a bucket. That's what you've got to create. So here's my challenge for you with your folders at home. If you're struggling with folders at home, I want you to strip back your folder system to 2 folders only, 2 top level folders. That's home and work, and start again. Okay, it might take some time to set up, but once you get the habit in place, then it works. Another top tip here for photos, make sure when you've got a photo file, put the name of the person or the people that are in it, where it was taken and when. Makes folders easy. Wow, we've done a lot already in 3 processes. Number 1, grab your bucket. Number 2, do your D's. Decide, ditch, do, diary, and delegate. Number 3, make everything searchable. Here's number 4, and this is the hardest one. This is the hardest one. You need to learn to say no. As somebody once said, I think it was Grange Hill, just say no. You need to wear your declutter cloak and bounce off clutter. Refuse to accept it, okay? Little story. My mum, bless her, goes away on holiday and used to bring us back a tea towel every time she went somewhere. We've got tea towels from Edinburgh, we've got tea towels from Cornwall, tea towels from Wales, even tea towels from Liverpool, Newcastle. We've got tea towels from everywhere, all right? But I had to have a conversation with my mum and say, there's only so many tea towels a man needs. Because you don't throw them away, they're not disposable. You wash them, don't you? And you use them again. So I had to have the lovely and nice conversation with my mum to say, Mum, I really appreciate your tea towels and your gifts that you take, but you know what, we've got so many now, and we need to use the ones we've got. But I really appreciate, thank you very much for thinking about me when you go on holiday. You say it with love, with compassion and gratitude. Same with things like leaflets in the street, when people just say no thank you, prefer not to. Or when you ask a receipt, do you always need your receipts? I say I don't need a receipt, thank you. And then what you'll find is, if you say no, it'll be recycled at source, okay? And the other thing you can say no to clutter is mental clutter, that negativity. In your emails, when you get emails that you don't want and you just go delete, don't do delete, do unsubscribe. Get rid of them, okay? Look at the emails that you want. Use your just say no quote to turn things off and say no. And then we're nearly there, folks, today. This is the last process, number 5. This is a call to action for you. My call to action for the next 30 days, try the One Touch Challenge. That's only touching things once. It comes in, decide, put it in there, only touch it once. See if you can do that. See if you can do the One Touch Challenge. It's great because you do stop to think and you start to build habits. So number 5, the process is the One Touch Challenge. Touch things once. That's a great strategy. Okay, so I'm there, folks. That's it. It's been a big one today. There's a lot in that. I am going to do a lot more of these, and I'm going to run some longer training as well as some exciting stuff I've got coming on. So I've got a book coming and also some further trainings that people can subscribe to. I've got a YouTube page where I'm storing all these videos, and also a website which is in the process of being made. So don't forget the strategies for today. Get your bucket, do your 5 Ds, make things searchable, just say no, wear that declutter coat, and try the One Touch Challenge. Next week, in our last session on making space, we're going to look at decluttering. Now, decluttering is a huge subject. I'm just going to give some light tips and strategies to start that process off. You know, you've got to start to get started. Start to get started.